Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grove. I am Bernard Alvarez, and it's so good to be back this week. I'm sorry I missed you all last week. I unfortunately had a little bit of, I was a little under the weather. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, that was nuts. I was sick all week, but anyway, I'm glad to be back, and unfortunately, due to the fact that I was not feeling very well last week. I did not really have the opportunity to produce a full show, so my Q&A was kind of my lazy way of creating a show for today. But nonetheless, I love doing these. So we haven't had one in quite a while. I think it's been about 2 or 3 months since we've done a live Q&A. So, what I'd like you to do is, by all means, please, I have the chat open on all my social media platforms. You are welcome to post into the comments, and I will see your question and I will try to answer it. As well, I did go around to all of my social media platforms around the web and collected some questions that you all had that you had sent in prior to the broadcast. So between the ones that you all sent before and the ones that are live, we should have a really great discussion. With that being said, I hope you all had a wonderful Beltane week. I don't know if you saw the pictures I posted on my Facebook profile and my Facebook page, but we had a great Beltane ceremony here. Had a lot of fun, and it was nice to celebrate with my coven, my grove, and with our friends. Again, first one we've had post pandemic. So it was really great to do a full scale outdoor ceremony with the maypole and everything. And that was really, really great. I see that light worker Laura is joining us from YouTube. Hi there. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, so today we are going to, as usual, I'd like to read a passage from the Book of One. Let me put up the little graphic so you all know what I'm talking about. By the way, those QR codes, you can like click on the QR code and it'll take you if you want to get a copy of my book. But I don't do this very often when I do the readings from the book. I'm at the back, which it happens to be additional information that was sent to me over the last, 7 or 8 years that I had been compiling some messages from my guides that needed to be put into this fourth edition of the book. Yes, this is the fourth edition. And this one is on page 115, and it's called No Change is Coming. As the true ugliness of your world bubbles to the surface, be shocked, be outraged, but never, ever give up on humanity. As you begin to acknowledge where the separation from source has manifested, the old paradigm will begin to dissolve into oblivion. Hold compassion for the angry, tortured souls that cling to the last refuge of hate, corruption, greed, and bigotry. All will see the truth soon enough. It's one of my favorite passages from the new part of the book. But I got to go back there more when I do these opening readings for the show. But anyway, let me go ahead and switch over back to the chat here. So anyway, yes, and let me just give you an update. I don't know if you heard. This is you're going to see this for I think 3 more shows. I am scheduled to have my eye surgery. Finally, 6 months of wearing this patch. Fingers crossed, I will not be wearing it anymore. Actually, the doctor says I won't even need to wear glasses anymore. So that will be nice. So please, as it gets closer to June 12th, send me a lot of protection and love and all of that good stuff. I do have another request, but I'll save that to the end. Hopefully, I'll remember that. Anyway, I want to say hello to Vivian Iris Hughes joining us from YouTube. Hi, Vivian. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right in. Like I said, I do have some pre-submitted questions that I went around to my different platforms, scanned some of the comments, especially for the announcement of today's Q&A. And I'm going to start with a personal one. I got a few personal questions that you all submitted. I picked two. If you have some you'd like to ask during this, you are more than welcome to. I'm willing to talk about anything. But we also have some other really good metaphysical, magical, and witchy questions that I would like to get to as well. So without further ado, let's start with the first question. I did not write the names of the people that submitted them, so I will not be posting or saying their names. Try to keep a little anonymity in case you want to stay low key. But again, personal question number one. Were you ever a Christian? And I think that's a fair question, considering how long I have been doing this. And I don't know how many of you know my story. I don't even know if it's in my book. But yes, I was, as many of you know, I'm Native American and Irish. I was adopted by a Cuban family in Miami, and I was raised in a very Catholic family. I went to catechism. I went to confirmation. As a matter of fact, I loved the Catholic Mass so much that I wanted to be an altar boy. I went to Mass every morning at 6 a.m. before school for a couple of years. And for a while there, I thought I wanted to be a priest. And I told my mom about that, and she was so happy. Well, 10, 15 years later, I did become a priest, just not a Catholic priest. And believe it or not, my parents were very supportive. As a matter of fact, my father was very proud to introduce me to his friends as the pagan priest, my son, the pagan priest. So my parents were pretty understanding when I left all religion there for a little while, actually. I became agnostic during my teens. After puberty, I got involved with some witchcraft. Things got a little hairy. The magical groups I was running around with, we were kids, and we were easily influenced by those that maybe did not have our best intentions in mind. And so I stepped away from everything for a few years. And in my early 20s, I did, and actually I'm going to promote this book today or tomorrow, but I'll promote it here now. I'll just give a little shout out to Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. I picked that up at Barnes and Noble or Borders or something like that back in 1980 something. And I felt totally connected with it. And everything that he wrote in that book about spirituality, about the goddess, it all just kind of clicked with me. And I've been a pagan now for, I don't know, 30 something years, maybe. I don't know. I've been a high priest for at least 25 of those years. But yes, to answer the question, I was a Christian at one point. And a little funny thing about that, I won't say funny, but when you are raised as diehard Catholic as I was, going to catechism and CCD and all that kind of stuff, it does get ingrained into you. And that Catholic guilt and shame and all that and fear really gets ingrained into you. And so when I converted, when I was a born again pagan, I actually used to use Jesus and Mary as my symbol of God and goddess. And later on, I found out that there is something called Christo-paganism, even though I think it's a little bit of an oxymoron, but hey, whatever works for you, that's great. If that's what works for you. But I did it out of fear because there was something in me that I was a little concerned, like, what if I'm doing the wrong thing and I'm going to hell? I better keep one toe in the door of Christianity. But no worries. I left that many, many, many years ago. And thank goodness that I discovered that shamanic presence in my life that taught me a lot and got me and kind of shook off all that fear and helped me lean into my Native American roots as well as spiritual practices. So it's fair to say I'm an eclectic now, and sure, I'd be happy to work with Jesus and Mary as an archetype. But no, I'm not afraid of going to hell. I don't believe in hell. But yes, I was a Christian at one time. So let's move on to some juicier questions. Let's see. So I found this one to be a great one because when I was studying early on, let me kind of precurse this question a little bit with a little bit of my experience. When I left Christianity, I moved into Wicca, as most of us do. Well, many of us discover Wicca before we discover paganism or shamanism and all the other beautiful colors of the magical rainbow, as well as, anyway. So I got involved in shamanism first. I got involved in Wicca and then shamanism. And then I jumped right into ceremonial magic and got involved with a local OTO chapter a little bit, just on the outskirts, dipping my toe in there, studying. And of course, got involved with some Golden Dawn work, thanks to Donald Michael Craig and that wonderful book, Modern Magic. My coven and I went through 75% of that book together, and we did the lessons together and all of that. But in all of this, I will say, I found, actually, you know what? I'm going to save this part for the end, but let's just say that there are systems of magic and witchcraft that are systems of magic and witchcraft. I mean, and you're working within that system, work within that system. But one of the things, and I'm glad someone asked this question, the question that they asked is, what is the difference between a daemon and a demon? And my first reaction was that demons are Judeo-Christian and or Christian concepts of, the people, the spirits that live in hell. And I actually wanted to do a little more. I jumped into Google and started reading a little bit more research as far as that is concerned. And it turns out there's a very simple definition for it. I had always considered daemons very similar to elementals. And I was reading an article looking at the history of the Greek pagan religion. And apparently that's where it comes from. The word daemon is somewhere between a god and a human. A great example would be like a fallen hero who's now a benevolent ghost that's hanging around helping people. So the easiest way to interpret what is a daemon is it is a helpful spirit, a benevolent spirit, whereas a demon would be considered a malevolent spirit or an evil spirit. I personally do not necessarily believe that they live in hell. I don't believe in the concept of hell. However, it's fair to say that both of these would live in different dimensions of consciousness and or levels of, levels of consciousness, different dimensions. I'm one of these people that believe in transdimensionalism. That's a mouthful. And within these different realms and dimensions, we have different energies that can manifest there. We live here in the 3.5D dimension. So we are very solid. We're very heavy. When we move up or down, we're going to have different, we'll see those different dimensions populated with different types of energies and entities. So yes, daemons and demons are very different. Don't let anybody tell you differently because it's not true. Okay, so this one, I think I'm going to save that one for last. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And it's one of my favorite questions because I actually ended up having a discussion. This was found on my YouTube channel. And someone asked is alchemy real? Is alchemy real? Well, in my experience, I find that, and as many of you know, I am also an instructor at Grace School. We do offer classes on alchemy, and we have a lot of historical information on that and the system of belief surrounding alchemy, going back to the Middle Ages and the wizards of that era, et cetera, et cetera. I look, and that's how I personally see alchemy. I see alchemy as a historical practice, probably tied into what one would call a modern pharmacist. These were healers. We hear the story a lot about Merlin and the wizards of that era trying to transmute lead into gold. And I believe that a lot of that gets misinterpreted. As we move to the modern era, I see it as that transmuting lead into gold is transmuting our human consciousness from this 3.5D reality and transcending it into that gold of an awakened, enlightened being. Crowley says that, I love his definition, someone who is in contact with his holy guardian angel. I say someone who is in communication with their higher self. So for me, in alchemy is an inner work. It's not an outer work. Modern, speaking modernly. If you want to go back, yeah, okay, it evolved into what we would now call a pharmacist. However, for me, in the modern age and in the magic of the 21st century, is that it is about inner alchemy and doing the work, doing the rituals, and doing the practices such as meditation, fasting, prayer, ritual, high magic, low magic. Oh, that's another good question that I'm surprised no one's asked. Difference between high and low magic. I'll get to that another time. In order to awaken the gold within us, awaken the fully emerged consciousness that lies within us. So to answer the question, is alchemy real? Yes, it was a real practice. It still is a real practice. I'm not sure that I know many alchemists that practice pharmacology or wart cunning, as we use in the pagan term. We call them wart cunners or herbalists or whatnot. But so yes, in that sense, it's real. But as well, in the magical sense, it is very real. But for me, it is about transcending our lead-based heavy consciousness and elevating that into an awakened and awareness with our higher self and in alignment with source consciousness, your higher power, God, goddess, etc. And I hope that answers the question. I see that we don't have much chat going on. Okay. So I'm just going to keep on going with these old questions. Well, these old questions, the questions that were submitted prior to today's show. And I'm going to lean into one of the personal ones. This will be the last personal question, unless you all post something. And it's an important question. If you're a magical person, if you're a pagan, a witch, a wizard, a ceremonial magician, have you ever dated a pagan, a non-pagan? Boy, that really gave me a struggle when I was young, I have to admit. Yes, I have. Now, we have to clearly mean, what do you mean dated? Dated as in a date for one night, dated for the short term, long-term relationship. But the short answer is yes, I did. My former husband was pagan, pagan adjacent. It's fair to say he was more in the dedicant phase. I don't even remember if he was ever initiated. He might have been initiated first degree, might have gotten to a first degree initiation. And that really, it helped. It really did help the relationship. It doesn't mean that our relationship was not tumultuous. It was very tumultuous. That is why we are no longer together. So, the answer to that is, yeah, I was with a pagan for 10 years, but it didn't mean that we had a successful marriage or relationship. I have come now to believe that, and by the way, I've dated many non-pagans. I've dated many uh, first degree and initiates and dedicants and whatnot. And while I do feel that having the same belief system makes it easier, I've also been in very successful relationships with non-pagan, non-magical people, but there was mutual respect. One of my favorite relationships I had in my early 20s was with an agnostic. And actually, they were the one who turned me on to Joseph Campbell and Herman Hesse and all these other great writers. So philosophically, he aligned with my beliefs. He just did not practice them, but he respected the reverence that I gave to my spiritual practices. And I think that's what it comes down to. No matter who you're with, no matter who you're dating, pagan, pagan, non-pagan, pagan, witch, high magician, Freemason, Christian, whatever the combination is, the important part is to allow that other person to walk their path. And I'm not one to give relationship advice. I can only give you my observations, and that is to align yourself with your path and also give the freedom to your partner, whoever they may be, whatever their belief, harm none, do what they will, to walk their path. Just be mutually respectful of each other's belief system. My high priestess back in South Florida, her husband was a Christian. And meanwhile, she was my third degree high priestess of a magical order. We were like an eclectic high magic pagan, goddess oriented high magic order. And he used to like joke with her, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my fluff bunny wife. She worships the moon." So it was like he may not have believed it, but he loved her, he supported her, and that's all that matters. If you really love each other, you're going to get along and respect each other of your individual paths. But I see we have somebody else joining us from YouTube. I see DG. Hi, how are you? Let's see. Okay. So DG is saying there's a cult coven casting spells on me because I said no to being abused. Okay. These people are higher ups. How can I protect myself against this spiritual abuse? Well, first of all, let me say that is really a shame. And I hope that this doesn't give people the wrong idea that this is common within covens and occult organizations. When that happens, let me go back. I will answer your question, DG, but let me just go back and say, if you are, let's say, a fledgling, an initiate, a dedicant in a group, and you're noticing that the leaders are exerting control over what you're thinking, how you look, who you date, who you see, I'll give you a quick example. And believe it or not, it wasn't even a magical coven. It was a Reiki group. I had students that had a Reiki master, and one evening I went to their Reiki circle. I'm a Reiki master, I practice Reiki as well, but Reiki is a technique. It's not a religious practice. Anyway, long story short, she did not welcome me. She did not like me. And as a matter of fact, she had told them that you cannot practice Reiki and be a witch. You've got to pick one or the other. That is what I mean about exercising control over your thoughts and your beliefs. They ran. Good for them. Good for them. And if anyone falls into that, category where you're in a group where you feel like you're being taken advantage of, you're being manipulated, please, search elsewhere. Some people need that. Some people like that. Some people like that strict, what I say goes type environment. And if that works for you, that's great. But if you're feeling weird about it, run. Just run, because unfortunately, just like there are naughty Catholics and naughty Christians and naughty Jews and naughty Muslims, there are naughty pagans also that will take advantage and abuse you. So it's not exclusive to Judeo-Christianity. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So trust your gut and leave. Now, you're saying that they were casting spells on you because you said no to being abused. Well, good for you for saying no to being abused. I would look into, first of all, I would do what I can to protect yourself from any spells that they're casting on you. And this is interesting because this is going to go into my next segment and the next question, but do the freezer spell. I think I've all told you the freezer spell. Write their names on a piece of paper, or if you have an image of them, or if you have one of their, amulets or pendants or crystals or something that they've touched that has their energy on it, stick it in a jar, a small jar. Put the object that represents them in that jar. Cover it with a black cloth. Tie it up real tight. Paint the jar black. And just wave your arms over that little jar with their name in it and say, I am free from you. You will calm down. You'll leave me alone. Let me be. I am free from you. You will come down. Leave me be. And stick it in the freezer. Stick it in the freezer. And what that does, it's not a curse. It's a self-defensive spell to kind of get you out of their consciousness, to weaken any energy they're sending toward you. But the biggest thing that I can tell you to do is to not give them any power in your mind. By you thinking about them, you're creating an energetic connection to your spirit. So the moment you bring them up, the moment you start ruminating about what they've done and whatnot, you're giving them more power. So I would work on a cord cutting spell. There's some wonderful spells on the internet. A lot of them usually have to do with having a couple of candles. You start them off really close. You tie a long cord between them. And every day you just move the candles further and further apart until that cord is tight. And then you cut it and say, I am free of you, so mote it be. So that way you cut all the energetic cords that they might have connected to you. But the most important thing is don't think about them. The moment you think about them, I used to have a similar situation, and I would keep a rubber band on my wrist. And whenever I started thinking about this person, I would snap that rubber band. So I would stop thinking about them. The more focus you give them, the stronger the connection gets. So please do what you can to alter your focus from that, and you will be able to do it. Hi, Daniela. Good to see you on YouTube. Wonderful, wonderful. But yes, it's it's disgusting when people do that. Oh, and by the way, hello. I do have that online. I do have that available for free for now. My social media managers are yelling at me. I'm giving away too much free stuff. So for now, there is the curse removal and soul retrieval video. I think that would be very, very helpful for you, DG. You can either go on my website or go on my YouTube channel. Get the most recent one. I've done them every year for the last 4 years, maybe. But the most recent one, I think it was 2020, maybe 2021, is the pagan version. And we're dealing with the gods and goddesses and whatnot. So that gives a little more power. The other ones were a little more generic, but this one was more focused for using the pagan gods' help. So check that out. Soul retrieval and curse removal on my website and or on my YouTube channel. That will help you. And I recommend doing that about every 3 months. Or if you really need to, if you feel it's not working, your cord cutting spell is not working, as a last resort, you are more than welcome to book a one-on-one session with me, and I will do it for you. Okay, so, oh boy, see, I knew I was going to run over. So, my last one, and this actually, again, goes into what you're saying there. Is it okay to cast spells on other people? Short answer, no. No, it is not okay to cast spells on other people. Those of us with any integrity, and it doesn't really matter if you're Wiccan or if you're pagan or whatnot, we believe in the sovereignty of the spirit and the soul. I would never impose my will on someone magically. For example, I would never do a spell to harm someone, ever. I might do a self-defensive spell to protect myself. However, that spell is for me to protect myself, kind of like that freezer spell is for me to protect myself. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to get them to leave me alone. So a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do a love spell. I love him. I'm going to put a love spell on him. No, don't do that. Do not do that. It is never okay to put a love spell on someone. It is never okay to put a spell on anyone without their consent. Yes, if someone wants you to put a spell on them, I don't know, to have more mental clarity, or something positive, I need more confidence. You want to do a spell to give them more confidence, that's great. You want to do a spell on them so they get over the ex-boyfriend, that's great. But let's say, for example, and I always use the love spell because it's the easiest one as an example, is if you want to do a love spell, do it on yourself. Do a love spell on you that you will attract the right partner for you. Do a love spell on you that you will be more attractive to the right person, not a right person, to the right person. So yeah, putting spells on other people without their consent is, I think of it as like magical rape. Don't do it. It's got to be consensual. Two parties consenting. When someone asks you to do a spell for somebody else, please don't do it without, if they come with the person to your session or something, and they're there and they're like, yeah, it's okay if they do that. You can do that for me. That's great. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you all know this, I teach magical ethics at Gray School. It's a great class. It's one of my favorite classes I teach. So check out magical ethics at grayschool.com. I love that class. I teach other magical ethics classes there as well. I teach about 20 classes there, but anyway. So yeah, no, it's not okay. What I love about the magic that I practice and the pagan spiritual practices that I have is that it is focused on us. It's focused on, the spells that I do are to manipulate energy in a way that I draw to myself that which I'm, needing or thinking that I need, or, something to enhance my life. It's not about manipulating anybody else's energy. Our magic is to manipulate energy is okay. Manipulating energy is kind of what witches do. We're manipulating energy in order to receive the desired outcome for ourselves. Again, it goes back to that idea of inner alchemy that I was just talking about. We're doing this work so that we can enhance our lives, so that we can be better aligned with, goddess consciousness, God consciousness, source consciousness, and our higher self. So be aware of that. I will go as far to say that, I'm older now. Yeah, I'm a little older now, as you can see. But in my early days, yes, I did dabble with what I would call gray magic, imposing my will for good on other people. And I'm just strictly white magic now. Well, what Crowley would define as white magic. Magic is neither good nor bad, and that's a whole nother show. Uh, but I did dabble in that gray magic area, and it never turns out good. It never turns out good. Remember, the energy you put out is what you're going to get back. And even if it's for healing somebody without that permission, we're still kind of breaking that code of imposing our will on other people. So, always think about that. And I love telling the story about the Satanist I met on a train. I've probably told it a dozen times, but I'll share it here about the spell thing. I met a Satanist on a train once. I was living in Miami. My boyfriend lived in Tampa, and I was taking the Amtrak. I just wanted to ride a train, so I was like, I'm taking the Amtrak. And plus, then I was in my 20s. I wanted to have the bar car so I could drink the whole time I was on the train. But it was cool. I met a Satanist, and we hung out. We hung out the whole time at the bar car, and we're talking philosophy and magic and this and that. And the thing that stood out to me the most, and what I got the most out of that conversation, was that when I confronted him about performing gray and black magic, he's like, "Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I know my spells work. I know my spells work. I mean, every time I do a black magic spell, I end up with like a broken arm or a black eye. So I knew it worked." I'm like, what? This is what you want? This is what you want for your life? You want to impose your will on other people for harm or manipulation and get the repercussion of the black eye or the broken leg? I was like, okay. And I think it was about that time I was like, yeah, I'm going to step away from that gray magic stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much the best thing I probably ever learned there. Thank you, Daniela. I appreciate it. I love these Q&As. I love it. I love it. Oh, hi, Robin. Good to see you. Nice to see you here. And I see, and Robin's on Facebook, so in case you don't see them on YouTube. And I see Lemuria Lynn Starseed is here on YouTube. And I'm gonna read this. Probably we're running over time, but we'll make this the last one. Let's see. I'm here because I recently met someone here in South Beach. Oh, okay. He threatens people with black magic. I'm not certain how serious he is, though. Very interesting that my largest coven was on South Beach. We had a coven on Euclid. We were on Euclid, right down the street from the Cameo. And we had this beautiful, I'm sorry, I'm like reminiscing now. We had this great salad ceremony in one of the mansions toward the bay down the street there. But anyway, it's a shame, and I've heard there are several. I know we were one. I don't know if my high priestess is still running that coven. I haven't spoken to her in a while. But oh, really? Okay. In the mirror door. I don't know. I know there's two big covens as of now that I know of, but the ones that I know of would never, ever do black magic. It's, yeah, and DG, you said it best. It's important not to violate the spiritual laws if possible. And it's not about if possible, make it possible. We have to like alter it. So, the reality of it is Lemurian, I'm just going to say Lemurian to keep it short. The reality of it is they might be young or they might be new. I know a lot of, I don't like to use the word baby witch, but let's just say I like to use the word fledgling witches. They get like this little power trip and they're like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. And they try to, show how powerful they are. And I will tell you that 99.9%, it always backfires and nothing happens to the other person they're directing it to. So if they are directing it toward you or you're feeling something being sent to you, Lynn, that makes it a lot easier. Very good. I would just do a protection spell for yourself. And quite honestly, that's as easy as, drawing a pentagram with some, maybe like a frankincense oil or sandalwood oil on your front door. If he is like a fledgling, like I'm thinking he might be, none of his weak little wannabe magic is going to get through. If he's involved in, I don't know. I know we have the Temple of Set down there. I know we have a couple other dark groups down there. Temple of Set was one of the ones I got mixed up with as a 13-year-old. So, yeah, they are down there. But, or maybe he's into Santeria, which is, they're usually okay with putting curses on other people. Well, not really. The Brujeros, the dark part of Santeria, is usually okay with putting curses on people. But yeah, just, your magic is going to be much more powerful than his. And you could do that cord cutting spell if you want, that I talked about. You can put him in the freezer. You can rewind a little bit if you want to do that one. But it sounds like, I mean, I'm getting, yeah, anger for some reason toward the gay community, although he's gay. I went through that phase too in South Beach. It doesn't last. But it sounds like anger, and that's the thing about anger spells. Anger spells, and I hope this will help you feel a little bit more at ease. Anger spells are usually done in the heat of the moment, and anger magic, they usually lack the focus. So they can't focus long enough to direct it where it needs to go. And even if they did, it's going to come back and bite them in the what. So I think a very simple, anointing your door frames with either like a frankincense oil or a sandalwood oil, and just anointing it in the shape of a pentagram. That should be enough. If worse comes to worse, do the same, but using black salt. And you're in Miami, so you can go to the Botanica and get black salt. They have it readily available in little packages for about $1.50. So one thing I miss about South Florida, the Botanica's had every which ingredient like an eighth of the price as we have at the New Age shops. But and that's another thing. If you live in a big city, go to the Botanica to get your things, so you don't have to spend too much money. Even though I want all the New Age shops to make it. Oh, he's just spouting anger. Oh, Twist. I used to love going to Twist. I had a lot of fun in Twist, wink, wink. But anyway, again, just don't take it too personally. And also, this also brings me to something that we cannot, and we have no, again, when it comes to imposing our will on other people, we can't control other people's behaviors. So the only thing that I can offer you is for you to protect yourself. I would not tell you to do anything against him other than maybe do a cord cutting spell or putting him in the freezer. So don't do anything like that. And I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of the questions that we had. No, that's it. Alrighty, y'all. I have a topic I want to talk about next week. I got to wrap it up because I'm running behind. I got a client in 15 minutes, so I got to get ready for her. But I'm thinking we're going to do something a little bit more risque next week. Let's talk about sex magic. Yes, we're going to talk about sex magic. We're going to talk about sex magic. We're going to talk about a couple other. I just want to get rid of some of the misconceptions about it. People think that, they picture like Aleister Crowley in a room having an orgy and all that. It's nothing like that. I mean, it could be, but it's never anything that I've experienced. Anyway, yeah, we're going to do Let's Talk About Sex Magic next Tuesday. So I hope you will tune in. Same time, same place. I love you all very, very much. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, please become a contributing subscriber. You can become a contributing subscriber on Patreon, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I think there are different tiers. I think I'm just going to cut it down to one low tier, like $3.99 or something like that. But your support is what makes this happen. You all are paying for these graphics. You're paying for these, all the software and electronics I got to use. And these things are on subscription now. Remember when you could buy the software? Not anymore. Now you got to pay it monthly. Anyway, I love you all. Please consider supporting me in any way that you can. Like, share, subscribe, contribute. I love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. It was so good spending time with you here. And now I'm looking forward to our next Q&A. But next week, we're going to talk about sex magic. See you then. I love you. Bye-bye.